Welcome back to the deep dive, where we take that crushing volume of threat intelligence and really try to distill it down to the insights you actually need. Today, we're jumping into a really critical analysis of a fundamental shift in Europe's cyber landscape, focusing right in on November of 2025.
And this really wasn't business as usual.
Not at all. The source material we have confirms a very definitive and worrying transition. It's a move away from those silent, quiet network compromises
Right.
and into a phase of highly visible, sustained, and coordinated disruption. We're looking at a system under immense persistent pressure.
That's exactly right. Our deep dive is into the European Threat Intelligence Report, and it captures a moment when the total volume of incidents, it did spike, but the nature of the activity changed in a big way.
So what are the top-line numbers?
Europe recorded 926 cyber incidents in November. That's a 7.5% increase from the 861 incidents we saw in October.
Okay, so a notable increase.
It is. But the mission today is to get past those raw numbers and really understand what the report is calling the solidification of a hybrid threat model.
A hybrid threat model, okay.
Yeah, and this is the key insight. You have politically motivated disruption, that's the loud noise, and you have large-scale criminal monetization, the quiet theft.
And they're not separate anymore.
They're no longer siloed. They are working in parallel, often hitting the very same victims.
And that coordination, that simultaneous attack on, multiple fronts is what makes defense so incredibly difficult for organizations right now.
Of course.
You have to be ready for the breach, which is the quiet event, and the DDoS campaign, which is the loud one, all at once.
It's a huge challenge.
And speaking of managing that constant inherent risk of a network compromise, we really want to thank our partner for supporting this deep dive, www.breach.company. Understanding that a breach is a constant threat and, focusing on resilience and mitigation is just essential. They help organizations make sure they have the visibility they need to secure their environments before, during, and after a compromise.
A very necessary service right now.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's unpack the data behind the strategic escalation of disruption. As we said, the total incident count hit 926.
Right, a 7.5% volume increase.
Which is notable, but the truly, I think, shocking statistic is where the attackers decided to concentrate their firepower.
Yeah, the report makes it absolutely clear. The threat actors made a strategic choice to prioritize noise over stealth.
So disruption.
A sharp shift toward disruption.
Yeah.
And the preferred weapon for that visible chaos was distributed denial of service, DDoS.
And the numbers on that are just staggering. DDoS attacks accounted for 475 of those incidents.
That's over 51%.
Over 51%. More than half of all recorded cyber incidents in Europe for that month. It's incredible.
It is. And it tells you everything about the attacker's mindset. They're showing a strategic preference for maximum visibility, for social impact.
It's about interrupting public services.
Exactly. Interrupt public services, hit critical infrastructure, undermine public trust, and force an immediate, resource-intensive reaction from defenders.
Right, because that high-volume disruption, it just consumes the defender's bandwidth.
It forces security teams to focus on the immediate visible fire rather than the quiet compromise that's happening in the background.
That's where the strategy gets really clever, isn't it? It's a classic misdirection.
It is.
If your security operations center is drowning in DDoS alerts, which are almost always priority one, are you then missing the quieter signals?
That's the question. Are you missing the initial access sales, the data theft that's already in motion?
And the report raises that as a point to ponder.
It does, explicitly. The DDoS activity is the smokescreen. It's designed to saturate your defenses so the real monetization activities can proceed, either undetected or with their detection severely delayed.
Yeah, which is a perfect transition to the other side of this hybrid threat model, the money-making machine.
The quiet side.
Because even with all that geopolitical noise, the criminal economy was running at full steam. What did the report say about that parallel activity?
Well, if we look past DDoS, the data breaks down into the core components of that criminal ecosystem. Ransomware hit 114 incidents.
Which is about 12.3%.
Right. Then data breaches, 108 incidents, so 11.7%. And this one is crucial for future threats. Initial access listings, IALs, were recorded at 87 incidents.
That's 9.4%.
Yep. And finally, we saw 67 data leaks, or about 7.2%.
Let's focus on those initial access listings for a second, because that's the precursor, right? That's the start of the big event.
It's a starting gun.
The fact that threat actors, these initial access brokers, are actively listing and selling confirmed access to live networks, it just underscores the need for preparation.
It really does.
They are literally selling the keys to the kingdom.
They are. The IAL ecosystem is the fuel for all the downstream attacks, especially ransomware. The brokers get that initial foothold.
Usually through something simple like phishing.
Right, low-skill phishing or a known vulnerability, and then they sell that verified access to the ransomware groups.
So the high IL activity in November means the extortion pipeline was very well supplied.
Robustly supplied. It's evidence that compromise isn't just possible, it's being commoditized.
Yeah.
It's sold on an open market.
But when those buyers start to execute, that's where we get the ransomware numbers.
Exactly.
The report highlighted that the ransomware landscape is really fragmented and competitive. It's not like the massive centralized cartels of a few years ago.
No, it's highly decentralized. It's affiliate-driven, which, poses its own unique problem for defenders.
How so?
Well, the core groups, the malware developers, they recruit these affiliate teams who do the actual deployment and the negotiation.
So when we track a ransomware group, we're not really tracking a single entity.
You're often tracking a shifting collection of affiliates who just change their brand names all the time to evade attribution.
So who are the big names that did manage to generate the most volume despite that fragmentation?
Quillen was the most active. They were responsible for 26 reported incidents. After them was INC Ransom with 14, and then the notorious CL0P with 10.
But the majority is just a long tail of smaller groups.
A very long tail of mid-tier and smaller affiliate groups. And the key implication here for security teams is that name-based tracking just isn't enough anymore.
Because the brand changes so fast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You have to focus on tracking the tactics, techniques, and procedures, the TTPs, how they get in and execute, not just the temporary name they're using this week.
That distinction is so vital. You can patch against a specific bug, but you have to develop behavioral defenses against those underlying TTPs that let affiliates keep operating no matter what logo they've slapped on their leak site.
That's the game now.
Okay, so if monetization is the quiet game running in the background, let's pivot back to the loud attacks. Where were they hitting geographically, and which sectors got the worst of this blended threat?
Yeah, the pressure was definitely not spread evenly. Southern and Western Europe really absorbed the heaviest, most disruptive campaigns.
And the top 3 targeted countries, they tell a pretty interesting story.
A clear but complex story. Spain led the way with 155 incidents, then Denmark with 119 incidents, and Ukraine with 103.
Spain and Denmark taking the top spots. That's a massive data point. What's the report's take on that? Why those two?
The thinking is that the elevated activity in Spain and Denmark, especially given the DDoS dominance, suggests very focused disruption campaigns.
Aimed at what?
Aimed squarely at public-facing infrastructure in those regions. This is different from Ukraine's situation.
Right. Ukraine's presence in the top 3 reflects that sustained geopolitical targeting.
Exactly. It's a long-running conflict that's now being fought largely in cyberspace. For Spain and Denmark, the goals seem to be disruption and chaos. For Ukraine, it remains deep, systemic targeting.
That makes a lot of sense. It shows the attackers are using their arsenal in, contextually smart ways, blending political motives with criminal opportunity depending on the target.
Precisely. And that dual approach also shows up very clearly in how they targeted different sectors. They used a dual strategy, picking sectors based on the type of leverage they wanted.
Okay, so let's look at the disruption targets first, the ones where they could get the biggest public outcry.
For disruption, which connects directly back to that 51% DDoS figure, the priority was clear. Systems essential for public life.
So government.
Government and public sector led by a huge margin. 242 incidents. If they go down, public services grind to a halt.
And after that?
Transport and logistics was second with 94 incidents. They were targeting supply chain stability, movement. These systems are chosen because downtime immediately creates chaos and visible public stress.
Right. And then you have the flip side. The extortion focus. Where were those ransomware affiliates placing their bets for maximum financial leverage?
They went after industries where downtime equals immediate, painful financial leverage. Manufacturing and industrial was hit the hardest, 31 specific ransomware cases.
And following them?
Building and construction with 16 cases, and business and professional services with 14.
That connection is so critical for anyone listening. Attackers favor industries where they can create instant, measurable financial pain.
Of course.
In manufacturing, every single hour the line is stopped, money is just pouring out, contracts are breached, goods aren't moving. That pressure forces a quick negotiation.
It is pure economic warfare. And this is exactly why the report consistently recommends reinforcing those core ransomware defenses. For these sectors, immutable backups.
Copies of data they can't possibly touch.
Right, copies the attackers cannot modify or encrypt. Non-negotiable. Combine that with a robust endpoint detection and response, or EDR.
Which can catch the malicious activity before it executes.
That's the benchmark right now for minimizing their leverage.
This leads us perfectly to the last piece of the puzzle. How do all these disparate groups, disruption, monetization across multiple countries, how do they coordinate? What is the central nervous system of this whole operation?
The answer is surprisingly low-tech and everywhere. Telegram.
Telegram. Not some specialized secure channel.
Nope. The report found Telegram was the central nervous system for these actors. It's where they did real-time coordination. It's where they posted their claims of responsibility, especially for the DDoS attacks.
And amplified their messaging.
It was associated with 568 incidents, which just blows every other platform out of the water.
That's fascinating. It's a widely available messaging app being used for essentially military-style strategic coordination.
Checked out. Data leak sites are still important. 123 incidents there for the public extortion pressure.
And dark forms.
Dark forms support the technical side. 105 incidents, that's for access sales, vulnerability trading. But Telegram is the operational command center.
And this presents a massive, immediate challenge for defenders.
A huge one. If coordination, threat claims, even attack announcements are showing up on Telegram first, your security teams can't wait for the attack to hit the perimeter.
You can't wait for the newswire.
No. You need real-time monitoring of this underground ecosystem. Telegram, the leak sites, the exploit forums, to get those early signals. Intelligence-led defense isn't a luxury anymore. It's a prerequisite.
So if we were to summarize this complex threat, what are the 4 big, actionable recommendations from the report for organizations trying to survive this new landscape?
They tie directly to the threats we've seen. First, since DDoS was over half the activity, you must strengthen your DDoS resilience. Now,
better scripting, tuning your OFs.
Right, scrubbing services, web application firewall tuning, and having clear protocols with your ISP. Second, prioritize protection for the most targeted sectors.
Government, transport.
Government, public infrastructure, and transport systems. They're under sustained pressure. Third, reinforce those essential ransomware defenses we talked about.
Immutable backups, EDR.
Invest in immutable backups and deploy advanced EDR to break that attack chain before the encryption happens.
And the last one.
And finally, the strategic shift. Mandate monitoring of the attacker's central nervous system. Telegram, DLS, and the forums. You have to get ahead of the timeline.
Moving from reacting to indicators of compromise to proactively responding to indicators of attack planning.
That's the goal.
That brings us to our conclusion. This deep dive into the European Threat Intelligence Report really confirms that Europe's cyber landscape has entered a volatile new chapter, one that's defined by this blended threat model. The pressure isn't just targeting your data anymore. It is fundamentally targeting public trust, system availability, and economic continuity.
I think the overarching takeaway for you, the listener, has to be that reactive security, just, waiting for alerts to pop up on your dashboard, is fundamentally insufficient.
Not against this kind of threat.
Yeah. Not against this blended dual-purpose threat. Proactive intelligence, which gives you visibility into how and where they organize, communicate, and choose targets. That is now absolutely essential for survival.
And for your final provocative thought, building on that crucial geographical data, Spain, Denmark, Ukraine, here's something every security leader in the region should be considering.
Go on.
Campaigns are not constrained by physical borders. So, if intense, sustained pressure is concentrating on one country, are the neighboring countries already adjusting their defenses? Are they boosting their intel efforts?
Or are they just waiting to become the next target in the campaign's progression?
Exactly. That's the nature of regional, sustained hybrid warfare.
A crucial question for every security program right now.
It really is. Thank you for engaging in this deep dive and helping us analyze this critical shift. We hope you can take this knowledge and apply it to harden your own systems and strategic thinking. And thanks once again to our sponsor, www.breach.company, for supporting this deep dive and helping all of you stay informed about these critical, evolving threats. We will catch you next time.